And our final speaker has dedicated practically his whole life to languages and linguistics. He studied languages at university. He taught languages at Bayside School, including myself. He was head of languages, and he's continued that passion even post-retirement. He speaks 5 languages, but his favorite is his mother tongue. Please welcome Manuel Enriles.
Okay, good afternoon. First of all, thank you for being here. So some of you have been here the whole day and being here at the last minute. I was a bit worried que iba a llegar y no era de nadie, pero no. Veo que hay alguien. So thank you for that. Right, let's go straight into this porque no tengo mucho tiempo. Mind Your Language is the title of this presentation. Y seguro que alguno among the audience habrá pensado, espérate, este va a hablar de un British sitcom that was very popular in the late 70s y starring a local actor, Ricardo Montes. No, sorry to disappoint. I'm not talking about that, although I'm seguro que there'd be plenty to say about that. It'd be a very interesting topic, especially in this modern day of political correctness. No, I'm not going to be talking about that. Lo que sí está claro es que I'm going to talk about language, okay? But I'm going to leave what exactly is meant by the title to a little bit later. I think it will become clear dentro de poquito. Se va a quedar un poquito what I actually mean. Los que me conocen would not be surprised, no le va a coger de sorpresa, que yo hable about language. In fact, estaría sorprendido si yo hablara de otra cosa que no fuera language. Porque la verdad es que me tienen que decir que me calle más de una vez. Cuando empiezo, va para rato. So I'm definitely talking about language. For those who don't know me, I'll try and explain why maybe that's become my passion. Y la verdad que empecé desde chiquitito. Desde chiquitito siempre I was fascinated by language. Con que, thinking about pronunciation, what this word was, and we have another word for it, etc., etc. I can tell you my favorite word there is keki. So that fascination, as I grew older, obviously developed. And I remember, I'll share an anecdote with you. I remember this episode that occurred when I was young. I must have been about maybe 9 or 10. And I was on holiday with, we joined up with a Spanish family who came all the way down from Barcelona. Y tenía yo a mi primo, el descansado de mi primo Paquito, que tenía un año menos que yo. Y me acuerdo de un argument que tuvimos, un discussion, porque él me decía que esto es un dedo. Y yo le decía, ¿dedo? ¿Qué está hablando? ¿Dedo? ¿Qué va? ¿Eso qué va? Es un dedo de toda la vida. So we had that argument. At the end, we agreed to disagree. When I grew older and I learned a little bit more about language and linguistics, I realized we were actually both right. In his variety of Spanish, it is dedo. In my variety of Spanish and in Llanito, it is deo. And in fact, it is deo in the greater part of the Spanish varieties that exist around the world, okay? That D between the vowels disappears very often. So that developed further when I grew older, and I went to Bayside School, and there I had my first contact with the formal learning of Spanish, okay, which I loved, and I discovered French. So I developed a passion for languages, and in great measure thanks to the excellent teachers that I had in all those years. Okay, they certainly inspired me, and probably I'm here today because of them. So when I went off to university, obviously, I went off to study languages. And in fact, I wanted to study as many languages as I could. I had to look through all the prospectuses and see which university teaches the most languages. And I ended up doing a course in Romance languages. There were very few universities that offered more than 2 languages. And I ended up doing Spanish, French, and I started Italian from scratch there. And the focus of my course was actually on Romance linguistics. For anybody who doesn't know, that is the development of the evolution of Latin into a whole variety of different languages like Italian, Catalan, Portuguese, French, Romanian, etc., etc. There's a lot of them. And that really, I mean, when I discovered linguistics and so on, I discovered an aspect which I particularly liked and has always intrigued me, and that is the aspect of phonetics. And phonetics is basically the study of the sounds that we use when we speak language. So that led me to do a master's in phonetics, which is a very, very specialized area within linguistics. And linguistics is, I must inform you, it's a scientific study of language. Entonces, aunque todos tenemos opiniones, sabemos sobre language and so on, linguists look at language from a very objective point of view, and they will actually analyze it very carefully and come up with conclusions. So I discovered then the phonetics, and in fact, as a result of that, I was able to attempt to answer a question that I always had in my mind, and that was, why does an educated speaker of English from the UK not sound the same as an educated speaker of English in Gibraltar? You know, the same level of education, but they didn't sound the same. And I did some pioneering research into the pronunciation of Gibraltarian English, okay, as a result of that. I then went on to become a languages teacher, and I've been teaching languages for more than 3 decades, although now I'm retired. But once a teacher, always a teacher. Entonces, what is clear de todo esto is the following. Now, some of you probably think, espérate. Este mucho language, mucho todo, pero no sabe que se dice I love language, you know, me love language. But what you don't know is those are my initials, Manuel Enriles. So Manuel Enriles loves language. Pero the heart, I'm a bit of a stickler for correction and stuff like that, being a teacher. Y entonces pensé, pero the heart is love. But the sentence would be me loves language. So I had to put an S. Right, I retired a few years ago, and something that I had realized being at the chalk face of language teaching in Bayside for so many years, I came to notice and become very concerned about a phenomenon that started to make me hear alarm bells, and that is language loss. Entonces, en ese momento, empecé a darme cuenta, digo, espérate, los niños cada vez les cuesta más trabajo de aprender Spanish en la escuela. What's happening? What's going on? And then, I clicked, I realized, claro, se le está hablando solamente en inglés. That is what we were told. Hablarle en inglés al niño que le viene bien para el futuro, para que el niño hable bien en inglés. But we completely ignored everything else. Okay? So, that has resulted in this. Our multilingualism, and I talk about multilingualism rather than bilingualism, I explain that later, started to crumble, started to break down. And we are in the process. In fact, this is going to happen a lot quicker than we think it does. In fact, we are 1 generation away from multilingualism practically being smallest proportion of what is spoken, or of the language model in Gibraltar. So multilingualism is in danger of crumbling to pieces. So I got together with a good friend of mine and colleague, Del Buttigieg, who has been promoting Janito for practically a good part of his life, most of his life. He started as a teenager through his website, janito.com, y también por other initiatives. So we both had the same concern. We said, we need to do something about it, and we started about 3 years ago, this association, Multilingual Gibraltar. También, from Deo's research and other research, we realized there was a lot of support among the community. People don't, in Gibraltar generally, you look at all the surveys, all the polls, they don't want to lose multilingualism. They don't want to lose Yanito. But unfortunately, most of us think, bueno, ¿qué hago? ¿Cómo hacemos? So we're trying to see if we can figure a way of tackling this. And basically, this is what I see our association doing. We're rebuilding, trying to rebuild, trying to cover up los cracks que hay en el sistema. Pero el problema es que it's not a job that we can do on our own. I mean, somos una association, volunteer association with practically no resources. Entonces, it is difficult to achieve that. In order to succeed, if we are to succeed in protecting lo que es el multilingualism, nuestros languages, and so on, we need to work together. Todo el mundo tiene que darse cuenta que they have to be involved. That includes parents, grandparents, very importantly, educators, politicians, employers, organizations, clubs, sports clubs, etc., institutions. We all have to work together with one aim, a common aim. Now, lo que pasa es que hay muchos barriers, a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. And some of them are what I would call myths and misconceptions. So I want to run through those very quickly. The first one is this idea that you only have to speak English to your child, porque así ya you're going to set him up for life, have the best opportunities in life. That is not the case. There's been a lot of research in the last couple of decades on bilingualism, multilingualism, that prove the opposite. That in fact, a child who grows up speaking more than one language, not only has the advantage of speaking more than one language, they have the ability to achieve the same level as a monolingual speaker, but also they have added advantages like their cognitive abilities enhanced. Okay, very many of these studies you see, the multilingual children or bilingual children tend to do better at things like math and science. So it's not true that you focus on English, you set up your child for life. If you do that, actually, you are not really giving your child the best chances in life. We also have people who, let me just go back a bit, that think, well, I'll go to the next one, that British people only speak Spanish. We've got this sort of idea in our heads. We are British. Pero vamos a estar hablando en llanito o en español. No, we are British. Well, I'd like to share with those people, and I think they're in a minority nowadays, that there are about 3 million British nationals who speak either Welsh, Scottish, Scottish Gaelic, Scots, Irish, Ulster Scots, Cornish, or British Sign Language, okay, apart from English. So we would not be an exception. And then the biggest nonsense of all, speaking Spanish makes you Spanish. If that were true and we apply that logic to English, that means Welsh, Scottish, Irish, American, Canadian, Australian, and many other English speakers around the world would all be English. I wouldn't like to be the one who suggests this to a Scottish person. Right, so let me get back to the title. And there's something, again, as I say, I'm fascinated by language. There's something that you can do with language because it's not all about the words, it's also about the stress. If I change the stress on that sentence and I put the stress on a different word, then what I'm saying is mind your language, or better still, our language, okay? Because it is ours, and therefore we should look after it. What about our language? Well, differently to English and Spanish, Janito is made in Gibraltar. The ingredients have come from many different parts, many different places, but we've put them together here over the last 300 years or so, and it's made in Gibraltar. And one thing I need to say about the language, our language, Janito, is that it is still in its infancy. It's still a very young language, still developing. It's been a spoken language most of the time until very recently. My message to you is, Janito, hace mucha calor aquí, ¿no? Chiquillo. Alguien ha puesto ha subido hojita. Julian, seguro. Bueno. Life begins después de un cafelito, ¿eh? Porque esto es agua. Oh. Right. The way I see this, the way the association that I co-founded with Dale, and I've got a number of quite a number of members here. We now have over 250 members. In fact, we've had members who've been joining today through the flyer. They've actually scanned the QR code and they've joined. And if you're not technology minded, you can approach any of us and we can put your name down. It's free. No cuesta nada, eh? But it will support the work that we're doing. In fact, we've got a banner there. And the treasure, Janito, as a language, it's a particular mix which makes it unique. It only exists in Gibraltar, okay? Or wherever Gibraltarians go, because I also mentioned how it is a very important part of our intangible heritage. But unlike the Moorish castle, que no nos lo podemos llevar con nosotros, si alguien se va a vivir a Australia, por ejemplo, they can take Janito with them, okay? El castillo no, pero el Janito sí. So it's a very important part of our heritage. It is a very important part of our identity, not the only part of our identity, but muy importante for some of us more than for others. It is part of our identity, and it helps us realize that we belong in a community, in this community, and it's part of every part of our life and our culture, lifestyle, cuisine, children's games, music, theater, literature. And literature is something that is, as I say, it's a young language. Está empezando a crecer, está todavía, I think, probably crawling. Pero hay gente que se han atrevido ya. Some very brave writers and very good writers who've dared to tackle Janito, and we're seeing a growing Janito literature, which in fact is being studied in many universities around the world. In fact, we are now into this is going to be the 4th Gibraltar International Conference, which is going to be held this year. It's going to be held in Cadiz, but last year was held in Basel University in Switzerland. The first one was held in Cambridge University, where a lot of people who are interested in Janito, researchers, academics, get together to talk about our language and our literature and our culture. So it's a treasure, and the treasure is the property of all Gibraltarians, past, present, and future. So I'm asking you, mind, it never perishes. That is what my title really means. And basically, this is a message from my association, our association. One thing that we see with languages, multilingualism, is a bit of a superpower. It gives you the ability to access a lot more things and so on. Don't keep it to yourself. Pass it on to your children or your grandchildren. Don't be selfish. It's something that they deserve as well. So don't, you might be thinking you're doing the best for your child, speaking to them only in English. I'm not saying don't speak to them in English. Do so by all means, pero hablarle en llanito. Okay, so my message is to you, parents, grandparents, speak to your children en llanito. Hablarle en llanito, and let's mind our language. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Manuel and Enriles.